This is ladder 6. These are our analog outputs, and we only have one analog output on this program. So in this ladder, we only have one rung of logic, but I mean to tell you, it's a doozy. So to give a little background of this rung, we have a heater in this program, and this heater has two outputs going to it. One of the outputs to this heater is a relay. It's a digital signal that turns the heater on and off. The second signal out to this heater is an analog signal, which tells the heater how hot it should be, how much output it should be generating. And so in this rung, we're actually going to be looking at both of those outputs, and the analog output is going to be dependent upon the digital input to a certain extent. So let's try to analyze this rung, which is a little more complicated than rungs we've seen before, but I think it'll make sense after this lecture. So the first thing we're looking at, this rung is divided into two primary branches, and those two are looking mostly at the heater relay. If that heater relay is energized, meaning our digital signal going out to our heater is telling it to run, then we're going to do one of two different things. The first thing we're going to do is limit test N79. And N79 we have labeled as the heater CV, or control variable. That means that N79 is the output of a PID instruction, meaning we're using a PID to control the output of this heater. So a PID output should always be between the range of 0 and 16383, but we're going to check just to make sure nothing's gone wrong or strange or loopy in our program. And as long as N79 is within the acceptable range of 0 to 16383, we're going to go ahead and move that N79 value straight to our output, which is module 1, channel 0. Now, on the flip side, if our heater CV happens to be out of range on the high end, and we're actually sending a signal out of our PID, something greater than 16383, we don't want to send an abnormally high signal to our heater. So we're just going to move the high signal of 16383 to that output 10 instead. And remember, this will only ever happen if N79 is greater than 16383. So now we've looked at the two possibilities if our heater relay is energized. Now there are also two other possibilities. One is if our heater output is de-energized, we're just moving a 0 to the analog output to the heater, because if we're not energizing the heater and we don't want it to be running, there's just no reason to send any other analog signal to the heater. There's another possibility, and if you look, the way this logic is written, this possibility does not take the heater relay's state into account, meaning it doesn't matter if the relay is energized or de-energized, because from this rung number we have a path straight down to this instruction, and it completely bypasses both relay conditions. And that is if we're out of range on the low end. If N79 is less than 0, we're going to then move a 0 into output 10's analog output. So we don't care if the relay is on, off, doesn't matter. If for any reason we have a signal going to the heater that's supposed to be lower than 0, we're just going to send the 0. So it looks like a complicated block, but really it's just a bit of robust programming that's going to take all the different possibilities into account, and it's going to do one of three things. It's going to either send the PID signal to the heater, it's going to send the high signal to the heater, or it's going to send the low signal to the heater. And when you look at it in simplest terms like that, going backwards and deducing the true meaning of the rest of this logic is really not that complicated.